Welcome to Tuesday PD, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about interviewing, given that our interview event is next week. But before we do that, I'm going to just give some quick updates. And so first and foremost, the interview event is next week, Monday from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at WCC at the Morris Lawrence building. You should have gotten a calendar invite, and you will get a reminder email on Friday and on Monday. So keep in mind that will be happening next week. Because that event is happening next week, we will not have PD on Tuesday or Thursday next week. The only event that you need to be at next week is the Monday interview event. Regarding the interview event, you will get your interview schedule on Friday. So you will get a personalized email and it'll say, hi Tabitha, your interview slots are as follows. And then we have 7 different interview slots. No one has 7 interviews, but there are 7 available spots. So you might have a break in the middle or 2 breaks, but you will get a detailed schedule. Make sure that you're on time. So preferably, if you can, be there a little bit before 5:30. And also be sure to be dressed for interviews, which we will talk about what that looks like during today's session. So mock interviews, this is a opportunity for you if you want to practice doing an interview before next week. You have the chance to sign up with your success coach or myself or Armika. And you can do a practice interview. Actually, Armika won't be back. So it's me and the success coaches. So if you are interested in doing a practice interview, we are happy to do that with you. And so we'll be sharing our links for signing up for that in the recap email. And then the last thing is that we sent out mentee intake forms yesterday. And so what this looks like is a quick questionnaire for us to use when matching you with a mentor. So you're going to give us information on, what kind of careers you're interested in, what kind of skills you're looking towards building, if you have any hobbies or other personal information that could help us make a match, like maybe you're specific in a specific school. If you're interested in, most of our mentors are Michigan, but not all of them. But if, you're interested in going to Wayne State, we can pair you with someone who went to Wayne State, someone who, U of M, WCC, Eastern, Michigan State. So we have mentors from all over the place. But anyways, these forms are due on Sunday. So May 14th, which is 2 Sundays from now. So make sure you get those forms back to us. And just as a last quick reminder, if you did not get that email for the mentee intake form, feel free to email us, SYE support, and Jordan will make sure that we have the right email for you and that we're sending it to the right place. It will be sent to whatever email you use to apply to the program. And if you need it sent to a different email, please let us know. And if anyone has any questions about interview days specifically or any issues or personal things, please feel free to chat me a private message and I'll be answering those, and we'll also have some time at the end. But now I'm going to turn it over to Mel to get us started for today.
All right, y'all. Today we are talking about interviews. All right, so here's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about ways to develop and analyze interview strategies, talk about how to answer interview questions, prepare for virtual and in-person interviews. All of our internship interviews, almost all of them will be in person. Knowing how to conduct a successful interview, so knowing what to wear, how to show up, how to present yourself, how to follow up, because there's even steps after the interview. And that's it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mel. And so now we're going to chat. I'm going to drop a little poll in, and if everyone could respond. That is okay, friends. I understand sometimes it's hard to volunteer, so let's try Zane. I know you have interviewed for a position before. Can you tell us a little bit about how that was for you?
It was pretty good. It was definitely like a first experience, so I had to get used to everything. But like through everything I've learned in SummerWorks, I just implemented those and it was good for the most part.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for sharing. So last summer was your first interview experience, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Very nice. And see, for all you folks, the 30% of you that answered, this was your first time. Next year, you'll be a pro, just like Zane. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else want to share either in the chat, or I'll stop sharing that. Anyone want to share off mute or in the chat how it went? All right, beautiful. Wonderful. So I will go ahead and pass it off to Dallas to talk a little bit about some example interviews.
So you all got to be OG to know the guy on the right. If you don't know the guy on the right, then you're not OG. I'm just letting you know that right now. You may know the fella on the left. You might know him, maybe. But so as you guys can see, example interview, bad. What does that mean? See, there you go. Jordan, you might be like in the middle. Did you meet Dave? You can throw that in the chat. I don't know if Jordan respond. Okay, yeah. So you're like intermediate. That's good though. That's good. Yeah. So anyway, let me stop rambling. If we can go ahead and get this started.
And thank you for meeting today for this interview. I saw your resume, very professional. And so I suppose.
Yeah, my cousin wrote that for me.
Oh, well, it's always nice to have help. And if you could you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I could.
And
but what if I don't feel like it?
Could you maybe also remove your, I believe those are sunglasses? Although stylish, it appears that it appears that the sun is coming in like towards your back, in which the sunglasses, they're a move that doesn't really make sense given this scenario.
I see you guys are pretty strict over there, huh?
We try to be.
All right, let's do this. Tell me, what was your question, sir?
Could you tell me about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Shamar. I like to do stuff. Usually I do it just so that I get it done. I really don't always put the best effort in, but at the end, I clean it up and make it look really good. So that's one of my good skills is, I guess some might say slacking. I say being innovative and creative. Another thing about me is, every chance I get, I like to spend money. You got to be able to have fun in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life is about having fun. This work stuff, man, the only reason I'm doing this is because my mom told me if I don't figure it out, she gonna kick me out the house or at least make me get off the couch.
Okay. So being innovative, being creative, those are all things that we can work with.
Hey, hold on one second. Hey, Mom, don't put no cheese on my cheeseburger, okay? No cheese. All right. Yeah.
Mr. Herring, you should be aware that when having a cheeseburger, the cheese is part of that. Could you tell me why you're interested in this
Mom,
position?
don't put no ham on my hamburger either.
Mr. Heron, could you just kind of let me know why you're interested in this position?
Mr. Koba, I just told you I'm going to get put out if I don't figure out how to make some money and not play 2K 16 to 18 hours a day. Okay. So I got to figure this out. And your company, you had a cool logo. I like you guys' logo. So I called my cousin. I said, hey, make some stuff. I mean, can you help me write a resume that makes a lot of sense so that I can go work and not get put out and still play 2K? But I read the job description and some of the stuff. I think I could do moderately well.
Okay. Well, could you tell me about a time that you had to make a tough decision at work or in life?
Great question. So I'll tell you about the time, you know, my coworkers, they were like, just leave. They won't even know that you left. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. But then there was a little voice inside of me that said, don't go anywhere because your manager will be looking for you. So I made the tough decision to not leave work early so that we could go play some more 2K. So I could have like just went and left work, right? You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like I could have left, but I used, you know, thinking because I need money so I don't get kicked out of the house so I can play 2K.
Yeah, and we do strive to have all of our employees, as you said, use thinking. That's pretty important around here.
See, the mentals, you got to use them.
Got to use them. Yeah.
Got it.
Well, I think we're almost done here.
You smell that?
But do you have any? Nope. This is virtual. I can't smell anything about
that. Might
you.
be me then, right?
Probably.
Oh.
It's likely that it's you given the situation.
So the quarantine out here, I'm just in the house.
Yep.
Here.
Absolutely.
Can't nobody else smell it. I'm gonna just keep it going.
Well, do you have any questions for me before we finish things up here?
Do I get paid for this interview?
No. No, you do not. All right.
Can y'all help me with my cell phone bill, like right now? Because my minutes is getting low.
So the way we do this is when you work for us, which I wouldn't count on right now, we give you money, which you can then use to exchange for goods and services.
Interesting concept. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Well, it's just one way to do things. All right, Mr. Heron. Well, thank you very much.
Well, hold on. I got more questions.
All right.
Where'd you get that tie, man? That's a nice tie, brother.
I got this at Goodwill.
Okay.
Specifically the Goodwill in Saginaw, Michigan.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You think they hiring?
Yes.
Okay.
A bit of a commute.
If I could do modestly a good job, you think they'll hire me?
Based on this interview, no. But
so what you're saying is I didn't interview well?
That is correct.
Is it the T-shirt? I should have wore different. I should have wore my He Got Game T-shirt.
That would have actually been an improvement over the current T-shirt.
Okay, puke green isn't my color. Duly noted. Duly noted. All right. Last question.
All right.
How much y'all think y'all gonna pay me for this job I'm about to get with y'all?
I don't think that we're gonna pay you because at this point in time we don't intend on hiring you.
Well, that's discrimination, isn't it?
No, you had a very bad interview, and I believe you mentioned your cousin wrote your resume. So
some chicken, yeah. No, yeah, he did write it, and you said it was a good resume.
Yeah.
At the beginning, right? So, all right, man. I mean, when do I start?
You don't.
Oh, all right. Well, can you refer me to somebody?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll come work for you.
Hard pass. But
all right.
We talked about the Goodwill in Saginaw, Michigan. Maybe that's an option.
All right. Well, I don't got a car, so
Well,
maybe they'll let me work virtually.
maybe.
Welcome to Goodwill. How may I help you?
They'll just have a computer monitor out front. And you're
Boom,
just greeting.
done.
Too
I
easy.
like it. All right, man. So I'll see you on the first day of work, man. Have a good day.
All right.
Sorry, friends, I did not have to share my sound last time and I could not stop laughing. It was too funny.
All right, guys. So I'm sure you may have seen a little something in the chat. But the question, easy question, what went wrong? Matter of fact, bonus points, what went right? I like voices. Act like I can't read, y'all. You got to come off of mute and tell me what's going on.
He wasn't really dressed for an interview and he had his glasses on and he wasn't answering the questions the way the interviewer was asking. Like he kind of made it clear he didn't really want the job. He just needed it for the money. He said he was also yelling to his mom and stuff like that.
Yep.
I don't think nothing went right.
I think you're right. Anybody else want to add something to that? I do.
He kept on asking like stuff that was pretty obvious and stuff that the interviewer stated like multiple times, like thinking he still gets a job and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Let's get one more.
Use of language could have been more professional.
That is absolutely correct. Absolutely. I see he was talking to his mom. I see everything went wrong. He was not focusing on the interview. He was off topic, asking questions that had no relevance. All of these are absolutely correct. I mean, we can just kind of start making up stuff, guys. And I'm pretty sure that went wrong in this interview. We can name anything at this point. But we're going to learn how to approach this differently. And maybe by the end of the presentation today, we might have a positive example for you. But for now, I'm going to pass it to Morgan.
Phenomenal. Thanks, Dallas. So what we're going to talk about now are some pre-interview tips. So we're going to talk about preparing and practicing for your interviews. So the more you know, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about knowing yourself and knowing the company. So knowing yourself, let's talk about resume information, your strengths or your areas of growth, your goals, and etc. Okay. So for etc., I'm going to talk about the other amazing areas on your resume, and that'll kind of be towards the end. So it's important to know your resume information, because this will help you articulate or really sell yourself, your accomplishments, and how they relate to the job that you're applying for. Knowing your resume information can help you demonstrate your suitability for the job and set you apart from other candidates. So knowing your areas of strengths or your areas of growth, this will help you communicate confidently with the interviewer. This will also be able to help you answer questions that may require you to talk about your abilities or your limitations. So going back to that area of growth, okay? And then your goals. So what are your goals and how will this job help you achieve those goals? So in terms of etc., let's talk about the other amazing areas on your resume, right? So the things that you're bringing to the table in terms of your education, your previous experience, and your skills. So what does that look like? Okay, now let's talk about knowing the company. So it's important to know the company for the interview. You can learn more about the company by going to their website, visiting their social media or LinkedIn pages, and making connections with employees who work there. You can also utilize press releases. Another way you might come to know the company is by doing some research through news outlets or the internet to gain some additional insight and information. So seeing what else is out there. Most importantly, the research you do and the knowledge that you gain about the company can help you to shape the questions that you're going to ask during your interview, which can in turn help set you apart from the other candidates who are interviewing. So a question for you is, how can learning more about the company help you while you are interviewing? So how can learning more about the company help you while you are interviewing? And if I could have maybe one person come off mute, maybe you can drop it in the chat. Shows a lot more interest. Absolutely, David. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to drop something else in the chat or maybe come off mute? Okay, phenomenal. Thanks, David. So again, this just goes back to the more you know, helps you know what to expect, letting the interview know you're dedicated to the process. Absolutely. Appreciate all of your engagement for that. So now I'm going to pass it over to Tabitha to talk about clothing and grooming.
Wow, you have to hit the unmute button if you want to talk. Just a technology fun fact for everyone if you didn't know that. But so for clothing and grooming, preparing for that. So I want you all to think about the wardrobes that you currently have and start to brainstorm, what do you think you would wear in an interview? And you can go ahead and drop those in the chat, but start to think about what clothes that you have that are professional, just generally. And we'll talk about the details of that, but go ahead and start thinking about that and dropping it in the chat. I'll keep an eye on that. But while you're doing that, so basically when you show up to an interview, unlike Shamar, you want to present like you want to be there. A plain polo is excellent. And so different interviews have different levels of professional attire requirements. I mean, the interviews that we have this summer, and a lot of entry-level jobs are not going to be expecting you to wear a 3-piece suit. So no worries there, but clothing suggestions. So a non-3-piece suit or khaki pants with a button-up shirt or a polo, that works. If a tie is worn, it probably shouldn't have anything really loud or designs that are really bright. And then shirt should be tucked in, so no gym shorts or jeans. Some professional settings you can wear jeans, but even if in the professional setting you would wear jeans, for the interview you want to dress a little nicer, if that makes sense. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Straight slacks and a blouse, probably some light jewelry. Absolutely, Chloe. I love how you add accessories to that because you want to feel like yourself and you want to feel like your best and most confident self in an interview. So throwing on a little jewelry, I love a little hoop earring to just make me feel like I have my life together. Big fan. And then in terms of, and we'll go in more detail, but in terms of more specific, so the shirts can be collared, kind of like what David was asking. Having a polo is fine. Knee length skirt or pants. Pants are probably going to be, fully long. There are some capri or pixie style slacks, especially for more feminine type clothes, but you are more than welcome to wear those, but no jeans. Open-toed shoes, short heels or flats are also fine to wear as well. You don't need to wear 4-inch heels or, shiny black shoes. But the TLDR, you want to make sure that you want to be there. You want to present like you're excited to be there, like you're clean and put together. And then Demi, in terms of length, it should definitely be about knee length for skirts and dresses is a good rule of thumb to go there. Right, and then I will go to this next one. Beautiful. All right, so we've got different examples of clothes here. So casual. So here's what we would probably not, this is not what we'd wear in an interview, but in the work environment, professional casual. So this might be, a casual Friday, what you wear. You might even wear this with friends, but again, not for an interview. Over here, business casual.
Hey,
So
Tabitha, can I just add to casual at home is different than work casual. Like,
yeah,
leggings are definitely casual and you can wear them when you're at home or out with your friends or grocery shopping or whatever, but you wouldn't want to wear leggings as casual to work. Same with like a t-shirt, like, you want it to be a little bit dressy. And it doesn't have to be business casual, but you want to there's a difference between work casual and casual casual. So just echoing that of, what that looks like.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kathleen. All of these SummerWorks categories we have here have the silent P, the silent professional in front of all of them. So professional casual, this is probably not what you would wear when you want to feel casual around the house, but exactly what Kathleen was saying, you know, casual Fridays in the office, this is very safe. And then business casual, this is what a lot of companies might expect you to wear in person on just the average day-to-day. Is that business casual is pretty common. This is typically what we ask folks to dress in for professional development. This is how we come to work. So a little bit stepped up. So you might have a light blazer, not necessarily a tailored jacket, but something light, a nicer blouse, kind of what folks were saying in the chat, and then some slacks with some nicer shoes. And see some folks have some jewelry here. And yes, any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, no problem, Haley. And then over here, and then we've got the most professional, which is business. So this is typically where you would land for a job interview. Is when in doubt, you always want to overdress rather than underdress, because then you just look like you're extra excited rather than you're not really excited. So when in doubt, always overdress a little bit. And so with business, for guys, that's going to be, you know, or masculine presenting folks, this is going to be more so the 3-piece suit, slacks with the tie. For feminine presenting or dressing folks, option of pants or skirt or dresses, any is appropriate, as long as, again, it's clean, the lengths are appropriate. And also it makes you feel good, because you're going to be a little nervous interviewing and talking about yourself and trying to get a job. So the last thing you want to feel is uncomfortable in what you're wearing. So it's not only is it really important to present yourself in a professional manner, but present yourself in a way that feels comfortable and confident for you. Does that make sense? Beautiful. Thank you in the chat. And then we'll come over here, and then perfect. So before, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say maybe we should go back and just kind of like, so we had a question about the difference between casual and business casual.
Yeah.
And so kind of like maybe we could have a couple of people share what they think, but the difference between the two categories, if we want to go back and forth between the pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll start with casual. So here we see the biggest difference for me when I think casual versus business casual is jeans is something that's really obvious to me, but what do other folks see here that maybe is a little different compared to the business casual? And in the chat. So tied in crop top, yeah, we've got this fun little detail here that's a little bit more casual. And then these are pretty colorful here. Then over here we see more tucked shirts, jackets, a little bit less colors, a little bit more neutral, absolutely. What else do folks, shirts untucked? Yep, Dallas. These folks could never, but here it's a little bit more casual. Shoes, yeah, what about the shoes, Jordan? Yeah, these different, absolutely. Haley kind of saved you there, Jordan. There you go. One is dressed and the others are not. Yeah, we see more flats, some boots, maybe some sneakers, some clean sneakers. Not too flashy, absolutely. And these are kind of subject to the fashion trends and all that good stuff. So we see the clean white sneaker coming back, and that is very appropriate in professional casual. Yeah. Is this clear, the difference between these two? I know they're kind of similar, especially compared to the business dress, but what questions do folks have about this? Beautiful. All right. So a couple things before I pass it off to the marvelous Mel. So our interviews are going to be in person. So of course you will be dressed professionally on top and on bottom. But as things change and develop with technology, and also since the pandemic, it's really, really common for there to be virtual interviews as well. Resist the urge to not dress on bottom or to not dress well on bottom, because if you have to stand up for any reason, no matter how unlikely, that is very embarrassing and very avoidable. So, and like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about dressing, or actually being in their interviews, and we'll give tips for virtual as well as in person at that time. Last thing before I pass it off to Mel. So self-expression has a very important place in the workspace and in professionalism. So just because something is professional doesn't mean you have to kind of cut yourself out of that. So, and there's some really important distinctions between professional and expressive and just unprofessional. So for example, it's professional to wear your hair in a style that is specific to your culture, or wearing clothing, hats or scarves or jewelry that are specific to your culture. That is very appropriate and professional. And it's also appropriate and professional to wear clothes that fit your body, no matter what body type you have. And it's also incredibly professional and also very kind to share your pronouns and ability status in professional settings, to communicate who you are and what your needs may be with folks. On the flip side of that, what is unprofessional? So wearing clothes that are stained or aren't clean, having food or debris in your facial hair or beard. So you can have your hair in any style, but it should be clean in any style. And then also wearing clothing, pins, jewelry that display your personal beliefs and or ideologies, kind of what Shamar was showing on his shirt. He had a little bit of words on it. Some businesses or organizations or employers may have more casual dress codes. I know, for example, one of our interns last year, he wore hats to all of his meetings, and his employers loved it. They thought it was really great. But especially in the interview, when you're first getting to know your employers, getting a sense of that culture and making sure that you're professional in the context of the job that you're in. You are all tired of hearing my voice now, so I'm going to pass this off to Mel.
Tabitha, I could listen to you literally talk for hours. All right, let's talk about the resume. So one thing, this is my pro tip. It's going to make you look super professional. You're going to look super legit. Bring copies of your resume to your interview. We will have copies of your resumes at our SummerWorks interviews, but in the future, bring a copy of your interview to your resume. You can pull it out and be like, oh, here's the copy. I've already got it ready for you, right? You look prepared. You look like you know what's going on. You look like you came ready for this interview, right? It's also good to review your resume beforehand. It is not a test, right? All of it should be about you. This is all your information. It's all your experience. And the interview is really just a chance to tell the employer more about yourself. Something else that employers often ask for are references. So this is a list of people who could speak on your behalf. References are not your mom or your best friend. Sorry, I'm sure that they have lots of really great things to say about you. But these are people who know you well in a professional setting. So this could be like a teacher that you've had for like a semester or maybe a year. This could be someone who has seen you in like a volunteer setting, or someone who has supervised you in a work setting, someone who could talk really highly of you, right? So like if you took a class and you didn't do very well in it, and like you never showed up and you were always late, that's probably not someone you would want to ask for a reference, right? And yes, Tabitha, make sure that you ask first. And it can be just as simple as, hey, I'm applying for a job. Is it okay if I list you as a reference? And just to make sure that people know, because I've gotten like calls before to be references for people, and they didn't ask me first. And so I picked up the phone like, yeah, they're great. Like, you know, but it's nice to have like a chance for the person giving the reference to prepare. And yeah, so we're going to talk about references in the summer or throughout the summer. And we are also going to be giving you feedback on your resumes throughout the summer. So you can turn in a zesty, polished version, hopefully with a new internship position experience at the end. And yes, Chloe, it is fine if like all you have are teachers. You can absolutely use teachers for a reference. A zesty resume. All of you will have the zestiest resumes. All right. So that's resumes and references. I'm going to pass it over to the fabulous Morgan.
Mel, you did such a good job.
One quick thing. This is just an important question, so I want to make sure I answer it for everyone. You do not need references for SummerWorks interviews. So don't feel pressure. That's not something that you need right now. But just, in the future, when you're not in a structured program, that's a typical part of the interview process. So we want to let you know what to expect, but that for SummerWorks, they are not expected. So, all right. Sorry for cutting you off, Morgan.
No worries. Thanks, Kathleen. So now we want to give you some tips for virtual interviews. So virtual interviewing, as we know, is very different from interviewing when you're in person, and it can also be nerve-wracking. So today we're going to talk about some tips just for you to have in your toolkit moving forward, right? So the first one that we'll talk about is testing your technology ahead of time. So we want to make sure that you're set up for success, and how can we best do that, right? So the first thing you're going to want to do is check your internet connectivity. You don't want to be in the interview kind of fading in and out with an unstable connection. You really just want to make sure that that's connected and that you're good to go. You're going to want to confirm that your camera and your microphone are working. Fun fact, before you sign on to a Zoom meeting, you can check that those are working and good to go before the interview. So if you have the time, and you should always log on and have some extra time, make sure that you're doing that. All right. Next, you're going to want to make sure that your Zoom name and your profile photo, when you turn your video off, we're going to want to make sure that those are appropriate and professional. So a nice picture, a nice background, right? Make sure your name is appropriate and professional and that you're ready to go. You also probably should not mess around with the Zoom backgrounds or with your camera while you are in your interview. And so with that being said, you're also going to want to make sure that if you have like a more casual meeting with your friends, that everything is turned off and that you're good to go and be in this professional environment. Okay. Next, don't procrastinate, right? Like don't wait until 5 minutes before your interview to test your technology, to make sure you're good to go, because what happens if something's wrong and you don't know how to fix it, right? So you're going to want to give yourself that time. And you can do that by checking as soon as your interview date and time would be set. And then again, the day of your interview, and giving yourself, again, that extra time just to sign on, check, and make sure that everything is as it should be and that you are good to go. Again, if you need help with technology, don't forget that we are here to help you, no matter what that looks like. Perfect. So now I'm going to pass it over to Jordan.
Yeah, so the next thing that you're going to want to think about with a virtual interview is setting the scene and minimizing distractions. So one of the most important things is figuring out where you're going to take the interview. So find a room, a space, whatever that looks like, where you can have good lighting, little distractions, little to no noise if possible. You're really going to want to just, have a space where you can focus and give your attention, and also not have any distractions for others. Some other things to think about are like, make sure that like background noise, so like the TV, your like music that you might be like having, your cell phone. I know most people keep their cell phone on silent, but if you're old like me, you might like to keep it on and like need to hear it. So I always have to turn the sound off when I'm in an interview. So just make sure to like think through those things. And it's also, if you have other people in the house, always good to give them a heads up, so your siblings or someone aren't screaming in the background, dogs aren't running around being crazy, so everyone else is on board as much as possible to supporting you. The next thing is your surroundings should be tidy. So it doesn't really matter what kind of space you're sitting in. You can be on a couch, a desk, as long as it looks clean and organized. So you really want to focus on that. And again, we understand it's versatile based on everyone's setting. So really just make sure, and if you have the ability, blurring your background can always help too, or setting like a background can help with some of those distractions, or if you have a like hard time minimizing any background distractions. Then, as Mel so wonderfully mentioned, grab those ring lights. Think about light. might seem silly, but we all could use a little help looking our best. And so you really want to make sure that you're well lit, that they can see you. Natural red light is always good, but it can be challenging depending on the time of day. It's cloudy, where you're at. So just try and be cognizant of that when you're planning the space. You don't want to sit under like a direct light overhead or have like a lamp shining on you, so you know you look like you've got some sort of like weird spotlight, or if you're me, I look like a ghost and I like completely like lose all my features on Zoom. So just think about like you can adjust your screen brightness, you can, you know, turn on a couple overhead lights or lights around you. But you just want to make sure that they can see you because they want to see your lovely face in addition to hearing about all the lovely things you're sharing. And then your camera angle as well. It's best to have it like head on, eye level. You know, if you're sitting here and you're looking at my eyes, I mean, it's maybe more comfortable, but like you can't see any of me and it feels a little weird and doesn't feel maybe professional to them. So really try and think about that. Most tables are usually good. If you need to raise it up, you can always put like a book or something, like stack a few things. Sometimes I'll use like a throw pillow or something. Again, I sound really old saying that, but just really make sure that you're getting your best angle as well as the best light. You're basically like the star of the show. So you're just trying to make yourself look like glam camera ready. And then lastly, just make sure you're comfortable. So you want to make sure that wherever you're sitting, you know, you're not going to be like fidgeting or having to move around or mess with stuff. Once you're sitting, you're sitting. So think about that as well, whether it's, you know, like a chair or something like that, you know, couch, whatever it may be that works best for you. Really utilize that because it makes a difference, especially if you have a longer interview that might be like 30 minutes or an hour. And so it can really, you know, make difference. But with that, I will pass it off to Kathleen, I believe. No, Tabitha. My
I was
apologies.
like, I don't know where we are. Okay.
I was looking a little too far down my list.
You
To
got
Tabitha.
excited. I get
I
it.
did.
I get
I was
it.
just so ready. I'm jumping ahead.
Wonderful. I will keep it brief, my friend. So sitting down as prepared as possible. This is really what Morgan was talking about in terms of doing your research beforehand, really knowing the company and knowing your information too with your resume, like Mel was talking about. So just having that information, even if you print out the information or write down notes from the company and have them written down next to you, having that prepared can just make you feel all more ready for the interview. And sitting down, being as prepared as possible also talks about, you know, the mental state that you're in for the interview. I don't know about you all, but I get a little nervous interviewing and I talk really fast when I get nervous. So sometimes I'll just take a sit down before my SummerWorks interview. When I wanted to work for this place, I sat down, little breathing exercise, and was good to go. So sometimes just being aware of how you feel before the interview and making sure that you're mentally as well as physically prepared is a great idea. And Mel, tell us about practicing.
Yeah, so I think Tabitha made a really good point that like we have interviewed for things many times, but we still get nervous. And so the best way to overcome being nervous is to practice, right? Interviewing is a skill, and the more you do it, the better you get. And so your success coaches and career advisors are here to help you practice. And we'll talk more about signing up for mock interviews later on, as well as some common interview questions to help you be prepared. All right, I'm passing it to Kathleen.
All right. I'm just echoing all of that, but you want to make sure that you're practicing, but not memorizing either. And so it's important to kind of we have a list of commonly asked interview questions that we can share. And so if you want, you can jot down some notes to get you prepared, but you don't want to memorize an answer because it'll feel forced, it'll feel robotic. kind of how you're just, you're just telling them what they want to hear. But if you can take some notes ahead of time to make sure you know the answer to the question, and make it feel authentic and genuine. You can also practice, in addition to us and myself and the success coaches, you can also practice with friends or family. It might be a little bit awkward at first, but remember, it will be less awkward in the interview if you practice ahead of time. So just practicing but don't memorize. And then you also get kind of caught up on worried about making sure that you say the right thing if you're trying to say something specific, and then that can, kind of snowball. So just think about general ideas. Don't feel the need to memorize anything. And I will pass it to Jordan to kind of switch a little bit into what to do during the interview. So switching from before the interview to what to do during the interview. But I don't think we're quite there yet. I might have just organized the slides weird. I apologize.
No, it's great. I thought you were jumping ahead and I was like, I'm ready.
All right.
And my thing says during interview, and then it says Jordan. So
Yes, I'm ready to tackle, I think, the next slide and during interview, unless we need to go back.
Yeah, you can tackle this one, Jordan. We kind of verbalized all the other slides, and the slides will be on the Google Classroom site. So
Perfect. So the next thing we're going to talk about is we've up to this point been thinking what to do before your interview. So now we're going to focus on what you're going to think about during your actual interview, and kind of developing your strategies, and analyzing different methods to do this. So get the next slide. Is that right? Okay. Tabitha was laughing, so I just want to make sure. So some interview tips that we've already talked about, dressing the part, and really making sure that you are, top bottoms. But the thing I want to talk about is body language. So really thinking about the interactions you're having. So when you are in person, you are thinking about like handshakes, greetings, things like that, how you might enter a room, sit down. But during virtual interviews, that's lost. So you need to make sure and monitor and check your body language throughout, and kind of just keep check. So think about sitting up straight, smile, keeping eye contact, which might, feel weird through the camera, but people can tell when you're looking at them, versus having your eyes like diverted at another screen. And then, oh yes, Kathleen makes a great point. In person, if you're uncomfortable with handshakes, you can definitely do a polite wave, but just acknowledge that when possible. And it's definitely still professional and acceptable. Like we mentioned earlier, it's definitely good to operate within your own boundaries and comfort zone and expressions. And then if you struggle with maintaining eye contact because it can feel a little awkward, you can really focus on like the camera. If you're in person, something that can kind of work is looking like in between their eyes, or kind of like right above. And it might, again, feel silly, or feel a little uncomfortable. I know it's like strange, especially on like getting used to on Zoom. Sometimes I still have a hard time like figuring out where to look. But they can definitely tell that you're making that initiative and that effort. And actually research shows that employers are more likely to remember what you said if you maintain eye contact. So they're really going to lock in on what you're saying. And that's, you know, for you as an interviewee, really awesome because you're trying to make that lasting impression. And then, like I said, even if you're not talking, just make sure to keep your focus on them, keep it on the camera. If it's, you know, virtual, you want to make sure that you're just giving all that attention. And with that, I will pass it off to, I believe, Morgan.
But think positive thoughts. So you all have taken a huge step in your own professional development by participating in PD with us. And just really want to emphasize that you got this, right? You have all the tools. We believe in you. You are going to do so well during your interviews. The next thing is don't forget to speak slowly and don't be afraid to take some time to think about your answer. So if you don't understand a question, ask your interviewer to clarify what they just asked you. This is 100 times better than just winging it and giving them an answer that doesn't really address the question that they asked you because you didn't understand. I did this during one of my interviews for my grad program. So having another internship is a grad requirement. And when I was interviewing, I was like, I really don't understand. Can you please repeat that? And so I got feedback later on once I was a part of the team that showed that I'm human and that I can kind of like admit when I need like that additional step, right? And so they really appreciate that and will affirm that within you. And if they ask you a question and you need a minute to answer, do not be afraid to say, that's a great question. I'll need a second to think about it, because that proves that you're intentional, you're really thinking about it, and you want to give them an answer that you've thought about and that really answers their question. So to reiterate, you got this. We believe in you. And I'm going to pass it off to the wonderful Mel.
Thanks, Morgan. You also want to make sure that you are making a connection with your interviewer. That can be kind of hard to do in the virtual, but it's real easy to give them the razzle dazzle in person. Interviews, again, are not a test, right? It's not an exam. There can be a lot of pressure behind them and it's okay to be nervous, but this is also a chance for you to learn about the employer and about the company, right? So think about it as like a conversation. That's both ways. So it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to like not necessarily be casual, but like you don't have to like go in for the handshake, answer all the questions, and then turn around and leave, right? It's okay to like show them that you are a human, and believe it or not, people actually respond well to humans and not lizard people in human suits. So don't be a lizard person in a human suit, be yourself. Which leads us into our transition to Tabitha's points. Take it away.
Mel, every time you talk, I just want to get what you say on a t-shirt. Don't be a lizard person. Love it. All right. So be yourself. Exactly what Mel was saying. You know, you're not just being interviewed at a job for your qualifications, and you're not just interviewing an employer to see if the job is a good fit. You're seeing if the team is a good fit. A hiring manager is one of their main job is to see if you'd be a good fit for their company and their office culture, which sounds kind of scary when you say it like that, but really so many different people can work with so many different types of people. It's just more so about being open-minded and being excited about the work and the experience. And you're all here in professional development every Tuesday night with us and in the SummerWorks program because you care. So check that one off. And just always keeping in mind, you know, you applied to the job for a reason, you were interested in the positions and you had the skills to bring to the table. And the only thing is, you know, consider how you were phrasing your responses, and we'll do an activity to practice this, but be yourself, but you can always practice the phrasings and be a little bit more comfortable in what you're going to say, but always being comfortable and falling back to, you got this, and you applied to this position and you were chosen for an interview for a reason. All right, and then now for real this time, I don't think we have time to watch this video. Am I correct, Kathleen? Correct. All right, I'm going to pass.
Just if you're really interested in body language, you can look at it later on your own time.
Yes, all of this beautiful content will be in the Google Classroom for you. To the marvelous Morgan.
Phenomenal. Thank you. So let's talk about some questions for the employer. So when it comes to asking questions to the employer, you really want to impress them with your research. Employers want to know why you want to work for them specifically. And so if you have the time and if it's possible, I recommend doing this very much. You should also look up the people who will be interviewing you if you know them, right? So Google them, find their LinkedIns, etc. I know you all are tech savvy. You can find them probably like the FBI. So make sure that you're really using those skills to do this for your interviews. So get curious, right? This is also your opportunity to interview your potential employers. So what do you want to know? This is your opportunity to ask. So some questions that you might consider are: what type of organization is this and what are their values? What is their dedication to diversity, equity, and inclusion? And how would they best support you and your identities and your work ethic if you were to get this job, right? Okay, so now let's talk about some questions that you could ask the employer. So the best way that you can come up with good questions is to do your research and to ask about things that are not easily available. So you really got to dig, right? This goes back to that research in their website, their LinkedIn, whatever it might be. So some good questions that are not easily accessible or available would be: what does it take to be successful at this company? What do you like about working for this company? Could you tell me more about the day-to-day responsibilities of this job? And so if we think about two people in an interview, okay, let's think about the difference between a success coach and a career advisor. If we went through the website, right, and someone were to ask about a question about the evolution and kind of like the booming program, right? It's growing, it's vast. If they were to ask a question about that versus someone who were to ask about the age range of the young adults who are eligible to participate in SummerWorks, one of those questions really highlights that that research, that intentionality. It's a deeper question versus just asking like what age range would be eligible to participate in SummerWorks. So if you've had time to think about it, or now might be your opportunity, what are some good questions that you might be able to ask employers during an interview? So
You could ask, sorry.
Go
You
ahead.
could ask them what made them want to like be in that job, what made them choose that career.
Absolutely. I think I pulled that out when I was interviewing for SummerWorks, actually.
And people love talking about themselves. So like that's always a good one because it gets them talking and you get to learn more about like, sometimes you can pick up on things that people are saying about like the culture of where they work or like things that they really enjoy. Maybe you get to know like secret stuff, like they have snacks in the back room or every Tuesday they go play pickleball together. I don't know. But yeah, that's always a good one.
Absolutely. So to kind of round this out, asking good questions is such a good way to stand out from other applicants and will really give you that leg up during the interview process. So keep that in mind. And if you're in my cohort, we're really gonna go in on these questions tonight. So get ready. Now I'm gonna pass it over to Kathleen to talk about post-interview.
All right. So thinking about now, the interview's over. So what do you need to do now? So if you haven't listened to anything up to this point, please listen to this. Make sure you thank your interviewers. Make sure that you are sending individual emails within 24 hours. Make sure you get their contact info. And so that might be getting their business card when you talk to them, or getting it from when you apply for the job or they invite you to interview. They typically will email you. And employers will remember that you thanked them. They will also remember if you don't thank them. So make sure that you are sending emails. It shows that you value their time, and it gives you an opportunity to sell yourself as the best candidate. You can add in little tidbits if there was a question that you wanted to elaborate more on, or you had more time to think about. You can put it in a follow-up email. You can also, when you're asking these wonderful questions that you're going to ask, maybe you learn something about that person, whether it's what they like about what they do there or something specific about the company. You can kind of reiterate that and say, I really appreciated what you had to say about, whatever they say in the interview. And so kind of adding a little bit of a personal touch can really make a difference. And then if you really want to go above and beyond, you can also send thank you letters or bring a thank you card with you to an interview. I know I've seen people like come out of interviews, like say they're in like a waiting room or something, they come out of the interview, they quickly jot down their thoughts, like, you know, whatever they're going to say, and then leave it at the front desk or something for the people as they're wrapping up interviews. And that can kind of, you know, extra make you stand out. Definitely not required for a handwritten note, but you should definitely make sure that you are thanking your interviewers via email if you can. And so this is just a really important step, and it's one that's sometimes forgotten. And I do a lot of interviewing for the SummerWorks staff. And, you know, people sometimes don't send thank you emails, and I notice it. And I'm like, you know, this is something that we teach. And so if you're going to be teaching it, you should be standard practice for you. And so that's something to think about too, that can also be noticed when you do not thank your employer. Well, the interviewer, I should say. So, all right, I will pass it off to Jordan to wrap us up. The summary.
Yeah.
Now say the top part like Dallas would.
I don't know if I can do it as well as Dallas. I mean, ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Exactly.
That's all there is to it, folks. But in all seriousness, just to re-emphasize what we've talked about in this section, really make sure and do your research. This will make a huge difference in how you communicate with them, how you show yourself as an applicant, and how they perceive you. And like the slide says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's really just not going to set you up for success. And I've been on the other side of interviews where you can tell people are not familiar with what's happening or what's going on, and it makes a difference. It's just, you know, you can tell when they put in the time and effort and they're really interested. And then, like we said, practice your answers. Although there's not a set format for every job interview, it depends on industry, you know, what point you're at in your career. You know, there are going to be standard questions that always pop up. So just make sure and think that through. And also tying back to the research, make sure to think through questions that might come up specific to your field and your interests. And then just look the part. I know you're all beautiful humans inside and out, so just make sure you show them that. And then stay calm, which can be really challenging. But just remember that they're excited to meet you, and that it is, you know, a safe space, and it's an opportunity for you to just kind of gloat a little bit and really express who you are. So, you know, don't worry, just be your best self, and that will, you know, come through. And if you need like techniques or something, hit up your success coach or us. You can always do like breathing techniques. I like to listen to some music and like kind of calm down, or sometimes just scroll through like TikTok or something, just something mindless to like, you know, clear my head of any concern, whatever that is for you. But yeah, if you have concerns, reach out to us and then ask questions. So make sure you come prepared to figure out questions that not only are about the job, but about the workspace or whatever other inquiries you have, because not only is it an interview for them, but it's an interview for you as well. So you're making sure that you fit in that space just as much as they're making sure you fit as well. So with that, I will pass it off to, I believe, Dallas to lead us through an activity now.
Alrighty, guys. Can I get the next slide, please? Boom. So, some of you vets should know this process. If you don't know about HEART, you should at least be familiar with it. And it's way easier than you think, especially since Kathleen just gave you all a little present in the chat over there. Just a little worksheet, something for you to look at. We have a little bit of time, but not much. Let me get one person. Tell me a situation. We're about to make this up in like less than a minute. Somebody just give me a random situation. Let's make this fun, guys. Come on.
Ordering a pizza.
There we go. So we're ordering a pizza. Okay, so let's see. Describe the event and situation. Okay, give me a challenge in ordering that pizza.
You need like 10 of them for a party or something.
Boom. Okay, we need 10 pizzas for a party. So somebody give me the task. Tell me what's needed. What do we need to do or accomplish? Somebody else. We got 10 pizzas. We need to order 10 pizzas, right, for a party. I just kind of gave you part of the answer.
You need to meet everyone's dietary restrictions. Very complicated.
Okay, that's a real story right there. Dietary restrictions, right? So we need 10 pizzas, dietary restrictions. What's your role in getting it done, guys? That one's easy. Real
We
easy.
need to be able to communicate with the people at the party and the pizza place.
Perfect. So we need 10 pizzas. There's dietary restrictions. We need to be able to we need to communicate between, the folks the pizzas are for and the pizza place. What's the action? What specific action do we need to do to get this done?
Call the pizza place.
Call it, get it in, get it done, right? What's the result? What's a potential result? Make it positive, somebody.
You get all the pizzas, you all eat it, and you're happy.
Boom, right? So, star technique, there's a situation, then something needs to happen, right? There's an idea of something that needs to happen. Then we actually do that, and we see what happens then after. All positive. I got a quick one for you guys. There was a woman who called me a couple weeks ago. She has an idea for programming for 14 and 15-year-olds. Problem is at Michigan Works, our program starts at 16. So it's like, okay, boom, we're kind of stuck, but not really. So now the task that I had to do, I needed to go and talk to my manager, because in order to sit and help her out with her issues, my manager and I needed to be creative, right? How can we address 14 and 15-year-olds if the program starts at 16? Kind of be creative. So the action was, we scheduled a meeting with this woman. We told her the assistance that we can provide without registering individuals. We told them the resources we can use. We told them potential ideas of things we could do, right? The result was, the result is, we are shaping some additional yet unofficial programming because, again, can't spend money on it. But she has 21 employers. She's looking for some help with workshops. If there's any way we can find some monetary assistance, she's looking for that. So she's just needing a helping hand, period. So it wasn't too tough, right? I told you the situation. We saw what I needed to do. We heard what I actually did, and that's what the result is. Star technique, it'll save you. These questions sound like, tell me about a time when. So if you hear that, think of your star technique. Okay, next slide, please. And as promised, guys, I think we should have enough time before we can jump into our cohorts and chit chat for a few. A good example.
Hey, SummerWorks participants. Today, Drew is going to be interviewing me for a fake position as a school health coordinator at Bullet Creek School District. And hopefully, this is going to be an example of a good interview.
Well, hey, welcome, Dave. Thanks. Thank you so much for coming in and interviewing for the health coordinator position here at this university. I really liked your application. So if you're ready, I think we can get started with the interview portion. All right. So Dave, my first question to you is going to be, tell me about a little bit about yourself, if you could.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity to interview here today. So I graduated high school in 2011 from Bullet Creek High School, wanting to help people. I then went to college to study education. While in college, my freshman year actually, I started a wrestling program at a Title I school at a local middle school. In 2013, I joined the Army Reserve. And then in 2016, I graduated. And then I coached and I taught at Dow High School in Midland for 3 years. I left teaching in 2019 to study public health and educational policy at the University of Michigan. Currently, I volunteer with the American School Health Association and host a podcast about school health. I believe a school should be the healthiest place in a community and that all children are entitled to an exceptional education. And I've really devoted my life's work to making that happen.
Thank you for that, Dave. I really like that response. So my second question for you is going to be, why are you interested in this specific position?
So I'm really passionate, as I hope I've gotten across already, about school health. And I know rural districts really face unique strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats compared to urban schools. There are vast educational and health inequities that are present in Midland County. And I'd really cherish the opportunity to work with district staff, parents, and community stakeholders to help narrow those gaps.
Okay, thank you. So in this position, you'll have to, you'll be faced with some tough decisions at times. So knowing that, can you tell me about a time that you had to make a tough decision while you were at work?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So I was new at a roofing company in 2011. So towards the end of the Great Recession, when we found out that everyone was getting laid off at the end of that project. And so everybody except for me quit like right on the spot. And so I was the only employee left in the entire branch that was just like a laborer. And so my team was supposed to get the materials ready and drive them to the job site. So everything that you'd need to take off an old roof and then all the materials for the new roof. And so I loaded up the truck and I started on my way. And I called the branch manager on the way and just kind of updated them on what was happening. And then we got the job done. It was the branch manager, all the salespeople, and myself, and we got the new roof on. And I was given a $5 an hour raise for that entire project. And then that raise continued when I was brought on as a foreman with the branch manager's new company. And that company is still going today. In fact, it cleared 7 figures last year.
Wow. Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Okay, so that's all of the questions I had for you. Again, thank you so much for coming in. Really enjoyed talking to you just now. So yeah, last thing, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, actually, so I saw that your website doesn't list anything about school health currently. I was just wondering if there are currently any programs or initiatives underway.
So yes, and that's part of why we want to bring you. We want to bring somebody in for this position because those things are in progress, are in the works, but we want to make sure that they are as fleshed out and as quality as possible before we start implementing those initiatives and resources.
Wonderful.
All right, so Dallas, you're back. Tell us
Yeah,
things.
I was just like right there.
Okay.
What went right, guys? What'd you like about it?
You had a pretty good follow-up question at the end there.
Okay, because that's important, right? Get those questions ready, guys. What else? We didn't talk about an hour and a half worth of material. What else went right, guys? What'd you like? What rang familiar?
He's also dressed up pretty well. He's got a decent background, though it looks like he might have some Christmas lights hanging up there. I might have gotten rid of those.
That's what's up. Good job, Harrison. Well, so guys, he held a conversation. You know, he looks appropriate. Oh, I see some. He's very engaged in the conversation, spoke clearly. As far as a suit, Vincent, suits are definitely great, but no, suits aren't necessarily needed. If you refer to our PowerPoint a few slides back, it could give you some ideas if you have something in the closet. Or if you're having issues finding something where you can reach out to one of us and we can talk about it. If there's some help that we can provide you guys, sure, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. But then I also see that Jordan said he maintained eye contact. Very important. Also, very awesome. He wasn't yelling at his mom. So he did a good job. Does anybody have any additional questions for us?
Did anyone see him using an example of the STAR technique? So what are some things he talked about?
Anybody other than Harrison?
He talked about when he had to make a tough decision at work, and I think he said everybody was being laid off and they were leaving, and he stayed, and he ended up getting a $5 raise and a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Nadia.
Yeah. Also, I just want, Dallas had said this, but I did put a worksheet in the chat. So this is something that you can use to draft what your STAR response might look like. And so there's some questions in there that are pretty standard interview questions. And so if you want to practice what you might say, you can use that as a resource. It's view only, but you can make a copy and then you should be able to edit for your own individual purposes. We will add the worksheet on Google Classroom if it's not there already. I can't remember if I put it in there.
Well, Kathleen.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Kathleen.
I was just gonna say, so now that we can still answer questions, but I am going to kind of give just a couple more details for Monday. So again, you will receive your interview schedule on Friday, May 5th. So this Friday, hopefully earlier in the day, but we'll see what my timing looks like. But if you do not receive a schedule by Friday, please let us know immediately. But you should get one at the end by the end of the day. And then on Monday, you will show up at the interview event. Please be on time and again, be dressed for interviews. If anyone needs support with interview attire, whether that's, if you want someone to approve it or if you don't have anything and you're not sure, please reach out to us and we're happy to help. And then from there, after the event, you will be asked to submit another form. And so the deadline for this is Tuesday, so right the day after. And so what this form will look like, it will ask you to submit a section 1 for however many interviews you do. So some people might have 3 interviews, some people might have 4 or 5. Depending on how many you have, you're going to submit section 1 that many times. And so Mel has this set up very beautifully in the form so that if you say, yes, I had another interview, another box will pop up. But basically, we want to know how each of these interviews went. And then at the end, you will have a chance to rank however many internships you interviewed for. So if you interviewed for 3, you'll then give us your updated rankings of out of those 3, which one, do you want most, second most, third most? And then we will, after that, make some matches and hopefully you will find out by the end of the week next week. So May 12th, I think. Yeah, May 12th. But that will be dependent on us getting everyone's feedback. And we also get feedback from employers. So that date's a little tentative, but that's our goal for May 12th. And then as a reminder, your mentee, the mentee form you should have gotten, and that's due May 14th. But how I said on May 15th, those will be, that will be when we will be so many B's right now, announcing internship matches, if not earlier. So my goal is the 12th, but if you don't hear from us, it will be on Monday the 15th. So does anyone have any questions about the interview event, logistics, specific questions, anything people need clarification on? I will say also, if you haven't been to WCC before, the parking, all the parking is free. There's a big old open lot, so you don't have to worry about that. There also, the bus goes to WCC, so if you need to take the bus, you can, use Google Maps, put in the address that's on the calendar invite, and it should lead you to where you need it to be. But if you are going to be taking the bus, make sure that you leave yourself plenty of time.